This is the Padres Postcast, your instant game reaction for the San Diego Padres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, he wanted to play it twice again, but we don't want to let it, and we'll figure that one out. But what is up, Padre fan? Welcome to your Padres Postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I, of course, am Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and tonight, I don't know if you want to call me at all. A bad one for the Padres in the desert of Arizona, 110-degree plus temperatures in Phoenix. The Diamondbacks had lost, 10 in a row? And then all of a sudden, they had won 2 in a row coming into this series. So you wonder if you're catching them at the wrong time. Are they getting hot? The Pods, of course, been red hot, having backdoor split against the Cardinals. Swept the Mets, taking 2 out of 3 from the Cardinals when they came back here for the rubber match in San Diego. So a real nice homestand for the Friars as they went 5-1. But yeah, man, and against really good teams, the Mets and the Cardinals. But tonight in Arizona didn't go their way. They drop it 6-2. JP Sears makes his debut, and he did not look comfortable at all. Throwing to Freddie Fermin, hadn't thrown to him. New team, new everything. It can be really tough on a starting pitcher, but he was bad tonight. Really bad in the first inning. I mean, what did he do? Walk, hit batsman. You know what I mean? Walk, single, hit batsman in that order. Allowed at least 1 run and every one of the first 4 innings. 10 hits, 5 earned runs, just got ripped tonight. He looked nervous. He looked disheveled. He was throwing slow breaking balls right over the middle. Didn't look like a pitcher that the Padres traded for to contend. Now, you traded Bergert, you traded Kolek, and Bergert's the guy you really didn't want to see go. But you trade Bergert, you trade Kolek, right? And Hart is long gone. Randy Vasquez now gone. So you're looking like you're going, Michael King's coming back. You're going King, Cease, Pfaadt, Darvish, Sears. Looks like that's going to be your 5. Well, JP Sears better get his butt in gears, if you know what I'm saying. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease, Padres Postcast, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. But it wasn't just him. The offense was offensive. Arraez hit streak comes to an end. Fernando still really not getting it done. Laureano a bright spot. But again, the Padres could not come up with a big hit. 2 walks to start the game, too, Fernando and Arraez. And you're on the road, and you got Brandon Pfaadt on the ropes. And first and second, nobody out. You should score 100% of the time. Of course, they didn't. You know what I mean? And that just kind of set the tone for the game. All right, Padres Postcast 6-2. They dropped the opener to the desert. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Thank you for making us your first watch or listen every day. It's free on the Locked On Podcast Network. We're live after the games on YouTube. We upload right after so you can download Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your audio version of your podcast. And then you down with OPP? Of course not, silly. It's OTT. Look at the whiskers, man. The OPP's way, way long ago for me, but the OTT every day, man. Over-the-top television, free on Roku as well. Javier Reyes has the podcast day by day. I have the postcast after every game. We need to get it flying here on your postcast. Grease, let's roll.
This is what you'll be talking about.
What's this life for? No, that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is an opportunity missed by the Padres because you're playing a team that had been, look, they had lost 9 in a row, not 10 in a row. The D-backs, and it's a habit. I lived in Arizona for a long time and did morning radio there when they won the World Series and beat the Yankees, the Diamondbackins, I used to call them every day. And they showed me they won the World Series. Anyway, look, long story long, I'm going to say this. The opener in Arizona, of course, didn't go the way that you hoped it would. It just didn't. And you know that, right? And it's understandable that you'd be a little upset. JP Sears in his debut, he's 7-10. He's a lefty. You're still reaching, right? And you're trying to find that 5th guy. Now, look, the 4 you got are as solid as a rock. You got King coming back. That's as good as any addition you could have gotten in a trade, even for an ace, in my opinion. Cease pitched his best game, in my opinion, of the season in the finale against St. Louis. He's had a couple against the Nationals too, but they're the Nationals. So if Cease can stay consistent, Darvish was great his last time out. He starts tomorrow. So those 4 guys with Pfaadt, who's got a career-high wins with 11, hopefully he keeps it going and doesn't kind of plateau there. So I go King, I go Cease, I go Darvish, I go Pfaadt. and then maybe you go Sears. I don't know. But the bullpen's loaded, even more loaded now, as we know. So they're in good shape. Just couldn't come up with a big hit tonight. Couldn't get it done. And, Corbin, Carroll, Lourdes, Gurriel Jr. each drove in a couple of runs. Brandon Pfaadt pitches into the 6th inning. 6-2 the final. Tyler Locklear, Alek Thomas each hit solo homers for Arizona. Thomas, a late one off Matsui, the only run allowed by a pitcher on the Padres other than J.P. Sears. Pfaadt goes to 11-7. Look, it was interesting in the 6th inning. The first inning, you walk the first 2 guys, and you're going, all right. When the Diamondbacks allowed Machado to double and Merrill to double, that got the first run home for the Padres. And then, of course, Cronenworth had the RBI single. But in the 6th inning, they had Pfaadt on the ropes. He only went 5 2/3, right? So in the 6th, Andrew Hoffman comes in. Runners on 1st and 3rd, 2 away. Ryan O'Hearn flies out to end the threat. He's an all-star. Get your game on, go play. You think in that situation, a nice little 3-run homer would have been all right. A hit there, clutch, and obviously you can't expect a hit every time or even half the time because a 500 average has never happened, right? So that's baseball. But Hoffman gets O'Hearn there, and that's a big battle in that game. Sometimes those individual battles in those big moments of the games end up determining the outcome. And, in the series finale against the Cardinals, in a similar situation, Jackson Merrill hits a 3-run triple, and it didn't happen that way tonight for the Padres, and then Kyle Backhis gets the final 6 outs for his first career save, the final 6 outs of the game. So J.P. Sears had a bad night. I already said 10 hits, 5 earned runs, So Manny Machado with a 2-out double, Jackson Merrill with a double in the 3rd. So that's nice there. 2 doubles with 2 outs to get those guys going, the M&M guys. And then Gavin Sheets draws the 2-out walk and moves to second when Laureano singles, and then Cronenworth singles to make it 5-2. But it's interesting. They didn't get the big hit when they needed it. They didn't jump on him early when they had look, when you get Fernando and Luis Arraez, and by the way, Arraez's hit streak ends at 16 games tonight because he was hitless in the desert, got on base with a walk. Fernando had a hit and a walk. But what I'm trying to say is when I look at Fernando Tatis and Luis Arraez, they both get on base to start the game, right? We already know the Padres' top 4 hitters have the best average of any top 4 in baseball. And now you've evened out the bottom. You got those guys coming in, and they're doing a great job so far, especially Laureano. And then you got O'Hearn, and then Freddie Fermin, and then Cronenworth now all the way down at the bottom of the order, right? And so I don't know about Cronenworth. I still am not a big Cronenworth fan, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? It is what it is. And I really think that when you look at this Diamondbacks team, even though they were big sellers at the deadline, they still have a pretty good ball club. But a missed opportunity for the Pods for sure tonight when the Dodgers and the Giants both lose, and you can't get it done against a team that really had been struggling. Now they've won 2 in a row since, but they have to win the next 2 and take 2 out of 3 in this series because this month is brutal, man. We've talked about it time and time again. This is the story of the year so far for this team. You got Darvish pitching great. You got Cease pitching great. You got King coming back. Pivetta has been great all year. But you got the Diamondbacks here, and you need to beat this team. They're 5 games under 500, even with the win tonight, right? You need to win 2 out of 3 against this team because after this series, the Red Sox, who are 12 games over 500, are coming in. You couldn't get Jarren Duran. You tried so hard to pry him away, just couldn't get it done, right? The Red Sox, they held their guys, and that's not something they've been doing in recent years under one of the worst owners I've ever had the displeasure of being around, John Henry. I knew him when he owned the Marlins in Miami, and he's just a terrible owner, and Red Sox Nation hates him. This team makes all the money in the world, and they're screwing their fans every year by not spending it on players like they used to, letting guys like, Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, and, of course, now Devers, they're gone. So, anyway, they couldn't, see it in their future to trade Jarren Duran, and he actually had a 3-run homer today. So, you got the Red Sox coming in for 3. You go to San Fran, you go to L.A., 3 against the Giants, 3 against the Dodgers. Then you come back home for 4 against the Giants and 3 against the Dodgers. Then you go to Seattle to play the Mariners, go to Minnesota to play the Twins. No gimmies in there at all. Big division series. This month will determine the winner of the NL West. Let me repeat, this month will determine the winner of the NL West, and the Padres have to step up their game. J.P. Sears, man, you don't want to be cringing every time his turn comes up. And maybe you go with a 4-man rotation because Darvish missed so much time. King missed so much time. I don't know. You might not need a 5th starter all that often down the stretch either. We'll have to see how that goes. But when I look at this team right now, it's still going to come down to whether they can get the clutch hits when they need them. Period, point blank, end of story. Couldn't do it tonight, but hey, you can't do it every night, right? They still have been fantastic since they got the backdoor split in St. Louis, winning the final 2 games of that series, right? Because remember, they won 2 out of 3 in Washington. They lost 2 out of 3 against, at the time, a hot Marlins team in Miami. Then they split in St. Louis after losing the first 2 games of that series. They win the next 2, the Beanballs, Manny, the whole thing goes crazy, right? And then they come home. So they come home hot, having won 2 in a row at St. Louis. They sweep the Mets, who had won 7 in a row. Then they take 2 out of 3 from the same Cardinals. So they beat the Cardinals 4 out of the last 5 times they played them and swept the Mets. You think they have all the momentum in the world coming in tonight, but not to be for the San Diego Padres. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Got to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. Incredible deals all the way around for you. Couple of amazing companies and products to kick to you right now. And then we wrap it up with the turning point, the player of the game, a look at tomorrow, and we get on out. Padres Postcast, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. And I get to tell you about my friends at 5 Hour Energy. It is time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. What a product this is. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink. You know you love it, minus the alcohol, of course, into a quick, energizing shot. You can see me right now. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I've always been that way on the golf course. Some people just take it as an invitation to get faded and drink all day. I get a little serious out there, even though I'm not all that good. But I'll tell you this, having played some of the best courses in the world, you cannot beat Pebble. There's some great courses in SoCal, right? And really odd challenges all over the place. And I mean, look, you need a little help, right? With 5 Hour Energy. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the Bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code, LOCKEDONGOLF, to receive 20% off your order. This offer only valid till September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders, but whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order transfusion-flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. And you know the summer sports are in full swing. Get it? The golf reference there. Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, right? Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Easy to use, fast to pay out. Cha-ching! Makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. So whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. New to FanDuel? Hey, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started with FanDuel on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jim Greasehaber, call me Grease. Padres Postcast, Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Don't forget Locked On Padres Podcast pretty much every day with Javier Reyes. He's been doing it since before the pandemic, building the audience. A sub for him is a sub for me, a like, a follow, whatever, is the same for both of us, right? So think of it this way. The rising tide, right? Lifting all boats. The army grows. The tribe, we want to call it, right? So every sub, every like, every time you hit that bell to get notifications or leave us a comment, you can interact live during my show on YouTube after the games. Other than that, you know, we're where you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, and of course, then you can talk about Roku, OTT. Yeah, you know me. All right, couple things to do, short time to do them in. What do you say we start with the turning point?
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
And the turning point kind of goes a little something like this. Hit it. Now, JP Sears allowed at least one run in each of the first 4 innings, 2 of them in the fourth, 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third. But he struggled mightily in the bottom of the first inning, even though he ended up working out of it. Gurriel Jr. singles to center, scoring Marte. Sears pitched out of the jam, but he was on the ropes from the start. Very nervous in that bottom of the first. But where this game turned was the top of the first inning, believe it or not, because that's where the Padres could have really gotten this game going on the right foot, right? So you start the first inning, Fernando Tatis Jr. draws a walk against Brandon Pfaadt, who has really done well against the Padres. So he draws a walk, Arraez draws a walk, first and second, nobody out. It's Nando and it's Louis, and then you got Manny, then you got Merrill. You know what I'm saying? All those guys coming through. They do not score. Then the Diamondbacks come up and get one, but Sears was nervous from the jump. He started the game with a walk, a hit, and then a hit batsman. Lucky to get out of there, only allowing 1 run in the first. So the first inning was the turning point for the Padres in this game because they were unable to score. First and second, nobody out. Then the Diamondbacks were able to pressure Sears and set the tone for that entire start for him as they got to him for 10 hits and 5 earned runs. All right, you know what's coming next. Let's do it.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
All right, New Jacks don't get smacked here because we got some New Jacks playing pretty well for the Padres at the moment, and one of them is, man, I'm telling you, really happy with Laureano. And you can't say enough about Ramon Laureano, who's been really good since coming over to the Padres in that trade. Now, you could look at and you really couldn't look at anybody else for the player of the game tonight for the Padres. It would have to be him, and that's pretty good. I'm all good with that. He went 2 for 4, and he didn't score a run or drive in a run, but he's been really good since coming over. Let's look at those games. All right, so let's see. He was 0 for 4 in his debut, but after that, he was 3 for 8 and then 2 for 4 tonight. So he's 5 for 12 since coming over, right? And he doesn't have a ton of RBIs or runs yet. In fact, he only has 2 RBIs since coming over, but 5 for 12 for Laureano. Solid start and a big upgrade in the outfield from what the Padres were getting. And, now you're working Sheets back in. So Laureano is our star of the game tonight. And then taking a look ahead to tomorrow. I love you tomorrow. You are only a day away. And you is only a day away. And hopefully the same you who pitched his ass off in his last start will show up tomorrow for the Padres. And, of course, I'm talking about Yu Darvish, who did not debut until July 7th against Arizona when he lost a 6-3 matchup there. And, after that, it was Philly, a 5-4 win for the Padres, and then a couple of tough outings for Darvish, and he really plummeted at St. Louis. And, 3 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 8 earned runs, 2 home runs allowed on July 24th. Bounced back great against the Mets, 7 innings, 2 hits, vintage Yu Darvish performance, 7 strikeouts as well. And he was just presented with a big award at Petco last week for his combined wins total in the Japan League and then over here. So Yu Darvish with a huge start tomorrow. They need this win. They need to back it up with another one after that in the finale. Because let's face it, every game's huge right now. Every game's huge right now. And you got to take 2 out of 3 in this series with so many games against the Dodgers, Giants, and all those other teams coming up. And, you're going to see Nestor Cortez pitch against Anthony DeSclafani. So that's interesting with Cortez. So maybe Cortez can be the guy instead of Sears. Who knows? But, I'd quit messing around if I were Schulte here. And I think Pfaadt should be pitching this game. But we shall see. Anyway, the audience has surged. We love you guys. Continue to hit that subscribe, the bell, come on in, comment, talk with us, mailbag, wherever you are, right? YouTube, of course, I'm live after every game. Javi's day in and day out with the podcast. And then after I finish with the postcast on YouTube, I go right in and upload it. Stitcher, Podbean, Apple, iHeart, you know what I'm saying? All of those, Apple, iHeart, Stitcher, Podbean, Spotify, and then, of course, Roku. So you get us wherever, and we're always free to you. Also want to remind you to check out Locked On MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB YouTube. Every night, every game. Yeah, local analysis on a national scale, and you got to love that with Sully and the boys. So keep on coming back for all three of those great baseball shows right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tonight's final from Arizona, 6-2. The Diamondbacks beat the Padres. Tough night for JP Sears, 10 hits, 5 earned runs, losing his debut with the Padres, who went 2 for 7 with runners in scoring position as Luis Arraez had his hit streak snapped. Merrill with an RBI double, scoring Manny, who had doubled. Cronenworth an RBI single. First and second, nobody out in the first. They don't score. 6th inning, O'Hearn flies out with runners on first and third in what could have been a big one as well. All right, tomorrow night, first pitch, 6:40. We are here right after that with your Padres postcast. Thank you so much for being here. As always, gratitude is the attitude. I am Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. Keep your game tight and your mind right. Thank you for watching Padres postcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm out.